All right, it's my turn to go first. And in a surprising turn of events, I've written a paper review instead of the digital one. It's been a long time. I was looking at this notebook, and this was the one that I started using like at the start of Dime Comic Bros. I've got notes from like the first episode on into like season 2 or 3.
Oh, a long time ago, many moons.
Yeah, season 2.
I wasn't bald yet. I was about to say I was still bald. I wasn't. I had hair for a little bit there.
Yeah, I was bored at work and didn't want to write it on a work computer, so I wrote my notes on paper, and it felt good. God of War Ragnarok was developed by Santa Monica Studios, published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. It was released November 9th of 2022 for the PlayStation 4 and 5, and it was released on September the 19th of 2024 for Windows. The story starts out where the first game left off. Fimbulwinter has set in, apparent by the snowy terrain and frozen conditions of Midgard. Atreus whines, bitches, moans, and complains about the prophecy about Kratos' death amidst Ragnarok. Kratos doesn't believe in prophecy. Atreus challenges his doubts, and this leads to so much philosophizing and deliberating about prophecy. Spencer is wet already. Can it be avoided? Changed? Is it even real? We wonder. For many, many hours of gameplay. To try and disprove Kratos' doubts, Atreus convinces him to at least investigate. They find and free Tyr, the Norse god of war, from a prison cell. He's a pacifist now, but sticks around to help the crew with any knowledge he may have. The crew are, of course, joined by Mimir, the talking head hanging from Kratos' belt from the last game, Brock and Sindri, the dwarf blacksmiths from the last game, and eventually Freya. She's pissed at Kratos for the first several hours and tries to kill him, but she comes around. The crew hangs out at Brock and Sindri's house in kind of an in-between zone when Kratos and Atreus aren't out adventuring. Atreus finally tells his dad to fuck off and finds the land of the giants, Jotunheim, with a whole bunch of cool lore. The giants are stored in marbles now. He also defies all red flags and goes to Asgard to talk to Odin, the villain of the game. A lot of complaints were made about playing as the whining brat, not Giga Chad Kratos. And I didn't mind that so much. But what bothered me was that his sections were very long and boring. It wasn't that we were playing as somebody other than Kratos. It was that Atreus's adventures are just kind of just fluff. His combat style is fun, a little OP and easy, but so much time was spent getting lore dumped or admiring the landscapes or riding a yak and listening to Odin's bullshit. Eventually, Kratos and Atreus kiss and make up. While Atreus was away, Kratos had a couple flashbacks of time spent with his now dead wife, and finally summoned the apocalypse, Ragnarok, in an attempt to kill Odin. I was confused because there were several warnings just before summoning Ragnarok that was the final level, and that I could or should clean up any other side quests first. But after Ragnarok, the game dumped me back out with the ability to do other stuff, and it even gave me a few extra story missions. So I don't know why there were so many warnings to wrap everything up. But I don't know, it was weird. There was a short credit scroll there was a short credit scroll as I was being dumped back out into the world from the results of Ragnarok. but it wasn't the complete thing. This isn't a spoiler. Somebody dies, and so one of those extra missions was to visit the wake and burial for that character. After the send-off is the real credit scroll. In between sound and story, I want to talk about the voice cast. Obviously, Christopher Judge knocks your socks off as Kratos. Couldn't be any better. Amazing. Absolute cinema. Atreus and Mimir play their parts well, but the roles they play get a little grating after such a long playtime. Freya, played by Danielle Bisutti, can adopt me. There are some surprise names, though. I'm talking to you, Spencer. Do you know Ellie, the heavy mechanic in Borderlands 2?
Yes.
Okay. That profile, body shape, voice, accent, that deep south twang, I guess. That profile is in this game as a friend to Brock and Sindri, the blacksmiths. They're really good as well. And she's voiced by Milana Vaintrum. It broke my brain because it didn't match up what I've seen and heard. It was just so weird to cast her.
God of War Ragnarok, sponsored by AT&T.
Also, La Fey, Mrs. God of War, also known as Faye, is voiced by your actual mother, Deborah Ann Wool.
Oh, fuck. I need a PlayStation now.
There was one scene of like 3 total when she and Kratos are arguing about her inevitable prophesied, maybe, death. He obviously doesn't want her to die. She is peacefully resigned to it and is preparing for her death. They are working through the concept of outliving a spouse and asking questions about love and death. I rewatched the scene writing this and still got goosebumps. You definitely would have cried. It is incredible. And the voice acting only sells it that much more. It's just very good. Moving on to sound. Sound design is so good. Characters grunt and growl from every exertion in combat. Creatures are convincingly big monsters. The music is magnificent and awe-inspiring when paired with the visuals and the story. The music paired with that scene with Faye is a lilting, almost sobbing chant in some other language, which only pulls on your heartstrings even more.
Dude, Bear McCreary has got to be one of the best composers working right now. It's weird that he's kind of cordoned off to video games so much. That's the guy who's been doing Rings of Power. Phenomenal.
Oh, that makes sense. Depending on who's paired up with Kratos, Freya or Atreus swap off, being his combat buddy, and they and Mimir will give out really important or accurate shoutouts in combat of like, watch your left, watch your right, there's someone about to shove it up your ass. Important things like that help you to react to combat. You don't have to be able to see everything around you because they're actively calling out everything. It's not the first game I've seen it in, but it is kind of rare, and hopefully it becomes like an active system in more video games because it's really helpful. It gets annoying to listen to after so long, but it is really, really helpful for playing. The visuals, combat, and landscapes are incredible. Particles, snow, and also fire sparks, especially, are amazing. The visceral kills, or glory kills if you're doom-brained, are really creative and gross and fun, but I will say that a bunch of creatures seem to only have one visceral kill, so they got old really quickly. There was one, I guess I'll call it like an alligator, where when you trigger the glory kill, Kratos grabs it by like the snout and the jaw and rips his jaw down like all the way past his belly button, so his whole front is wide open. It's really gross, but that's like the only kill for that character. I was really surprised and impressed by the massive amount of fuck around dialogue. Kratos and Atreus or Freya, Kratos and Atreus or Freya will be exploring, and they'll philosophize about prophecy or the history of the world or how much of an asshole Odin is. Mimir will chime in with a story of the old days. The fuck around dialogue seemingly never ended, and I almost got all the side content in the game. Moving on to gameplay. Exploration is ridiculous. There are honestly too many chests to break open or shoot down from overhead. Many were filled with a small amount of currency, and it just felt like bloat, like fluff. Just like, why did I track down this chest just to get like a couple of coins? I already have so much and so many. Like, way too many chests. It should have been trimmed down a lot. It got old very quickly, like before the halfway point. This game relies on so many AAA gaming level transition loading areas, like squeezing between two big rocks, to the point that Astrobot's God of War level did it as a joke. It felt like the exploration could have been cleaned up a lot. There were too many useless chests. The level transitions, I assume, are because the levels were so big that they needed so many loading areas without loading screens. The game feels huge, and the performance was perfect. I didn't have any problem with frame rate or anything like that. It ran great. So those transitions really help make the game look good. It just, at what cost? The combat is really deep. Kratos has an axe. He can throw that away and retrieve it, but if you don't retrieve it, Kratos uses his fists. He has the Blades of Chaos, and he gets a spear in this game. So that's 4 different fighting styles. R1 is a light attack, R2 is a heavy attack. You can do quick presses or holds for different effects and thus combos. There are elements imbued into the weapons, and that affects the enemies with a status effect. The axe has cold frost or whatever. The Blades of Chaos have fire. There are different upgrades. So like, if you can frost and burn and poison an enemy, you can attack it with the spear, and it does extra damage for each status effect applied to the whatever. You get it. Kratos has a shield again, same with the last game, where you can... There's a little bit of variety between the shields. I don't know. I'll guess and say that there's like 8 or 12 different shields in the game. And they each do a little bit different things. There's one where you can just like turtle behind it. There's one where you can like double press the L1 button, which is the block button, and it'll make Kratos rush and like shield bash a guy. There's one with a greater parry window. There are special attacks for each weapon. So if you hold the shield button L1 and then press R1 or R2, you do a different like special animation with your equipped weapon. So like my axe, my R1, L1, Kratos would like plant the axe in the ground and he would get this frost laser that he could point at everybody and just like fire hose dudes. Or L1, R2, he would smash the ground. He would like Hulk smash the ground and send out a shockwave that would press everybody back and deal a little bit of frost damage to them. But it was a special animation for that. And that's what leads me into a mini meltdown. I have noticed, and I can't fucking stand the Sekiroization of games. Sekiro, seemingly, started this system of, the balance of parrying an attack and counter-attacking. Which is, okay, that's been around for a long time, but what Sekiro did different about it was that enemies would have like a color or a name show up over that attack so that you could know if you were able to parry it or not. So if it's, generally speaking, if it's a yellow attack, you parry it, or if it's a red attack, you're not going to be able to parry it and you have to dodge. And I fucking hate it. It's not applicable in every modern game or most modern games like it seemingly is. It's become more and more popular. And like in God of War, where you're a god, there shouldn't be an unblockable attack against him. It seems like it should be used in special cases. Like in Sekiro, it works perfect because the Grey Wolf or the Lone Wolf or whatever he is doesn't have a shield. He's using his sword, and it feeds into the story and the gameplay, and it's really, really good for that game. I don't know. I don't have like a good wrap up or a good closing point for this meltdown, but we had a parry system forever and ever. Demon Souls did it, Dark Souls did it, and they did it without colors or names or whatever showing up in the attacks. You would be fighting a giant and you would know when you could parry an attack or when you would get stomped. And so the Sekiroization is perfect for Sekiro, but it seems like anybody that's taking that system is dumbing down like a parry system. Because it's just like, oh, yellow, parry. Oh, red, dodge. Oh, wow, my dodge actually sucks because this is a parry system, so I moved 1 foot to the side and still got my ass stomped. It doesn't feel good in most games. The Space Marine 2 had it. In that game, you're a fucking tank. You can't move fast at all, ever. Like, even when you're running, it doesn't feel fast. And so when you have the red attack coming at you and you try to dodge, it never fucking dodges. I don't like this system. I fucking hate it. And it's getting worse. Am I crazy?
I mean, you are crazy. Your point seems substantial to me. I just haven't encountered it that much just because I've been so out of more recent stuff.
I remember we had a conversation leading into this next mini rant a long time ago, and I don't remember the fine points about it. So the combat in God of War Ragnarok is based on like the animations. So like those special attacks, that frost laser, I could end it quickly if I wanted to, but I wasn't immune while I was doing those attacks. But it was also like the greatest way for me to deal the greatest damage. And so a lot of like the boss fights, I would try to lead out. The boss enters the arena and like throws its arms up and growls and whatever. Like it had the introduction, this is a boss fight animation, and that's when I would try to pop like my greatest damage dealing animation based move, and by the time I was done with something that I couldn't end, I would have like half my health, and that didn't feel good in this game either. Or like even just trying to swing my axe, there was no way to cancel the animation, even like to block with my shield or to parry or whatever. The combat in this game fucking drove me absolutely cuckoo bananas. I was screaming at the TV like my kid had just lost Little League sometimes. Like, it was horrible. I became a monster playing this game because it's so fucking frustrating. Do you remember that animation-based combat conversation?
Not specifically, but I know we've talked about it a few times. It does seem to be there's a lot of games that don't seem to pick the right option between having an animation-based system or a hitbox-based system, and then like how to bridge the gap between those two things. I just like an example I thought of in the moment. Out of the Batman Arkham series, only they're all animation-based, but Asylum is the only one that does not have the ability to cancel an attack by countering. That's why it has the most amount of what feels kind of like bullshit that you can't really do anything to, and it'll break your combo and all that. Whereas
because I remember in Arkham City, it would look really fucking goofy sometimes. He'd be like flying across the robe, and then I'd block at the last second, and he would like change completely, and it looked weird.
Right. So like they all have the extremely over the top. You know, you can still, if the timing's right, you can counter an enemy who's 30 feet away and he'll do 2 backflips and go right into an animation over there.
Yeah. Okay.
But it is the only one out of that series that doesn't have I'm mid swing and the B button prompt will happen because someone's about to hit me in the head, and then you can immediately go into that. And like it's still all animation based, but if you have that and you have a lot of enemies in an arena, or depending on how like the AI programming works for each enemy, it'll completely like break your flow as a player, and then like the visual flow of the animations working if you don't have either an option to cancel, or if you don't want to have that, you have to have a smooth transition out. Like your what's a good example? I guess Tomb Raider comes to mind. When you're doing melee attacks, as far as I can tell, it's animation based, but the cooldown time after an attack has struck is incredibly quick. So you are nearly flawlessly able to then either attack again or move or be able to counter somebody else or whatever. Whereas a lot of games struggle, especially the cinematic 3D Sony, those sorts of games struggle a lot with their animations being so pretty, and they really want you to look at them, but they don't take the time or think about it, I guess, to have the certain periods of the animations be faster than others. Like, you're already playing a video game, it's already unrealistic, so shut the fuck up. Like, shit's gonna be silly, but there's a way to make it like smoother. I don't know the technical terms for these things.
Yeah, but I didn't either.
Yeah, because then like a lot of hitbox-based games that's where it kind of turns into button mashing, ironically enough. Despite the fact that the idea is that wherever your attack lands will do specific types of damage based on range and all that sort of junk. But because
like Dark Souls 2 is notorious for having really shitty hitboxes.
Right. So you have like a lot more technical stuff going on behind the scenes. And then if you want to make it really because you want it to be fast so you can try to like aim or position yourself better, it still ends up really easy to just like put your face in an enemy's face and just spam because you're gonna just hit whatever. And it's I do not envy those sorts of decisions because you can't just like change that midway through production. You have to you pick it, you got to make it work. Like if you even changes between entries is a really big thing. I mean, that's my ex Assassin's Creed had that. Like that was part of the big quote unquote RPG turn, was they went from animation based combat to hitbox based combat, which was cool for a while. But even in its first game in Origins, it kind of wore out its welcome because it kind of turned into really, really fast spamming.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was considering starting that actually.
It's such in retrospect, it's an absolute mess of a game, but at the time especially, it was really good. And there's a lot of really good stuff in there. It's so incredibly messy.
Atreus and Freya shoot two different flavors of arrows. Purple and green, one inflicts... I didn't write it down. They inflict different statuses at the press of the square button. This happens in combat and out of combat when you're fucking around. These arrows are used against different terrains in the world when paired with Kratos' weapons. So you had to use the purple one for the status effects. There were puzzles like there's a torch that you need to light, but it's behind a grate or whatever. So you would have to chain like 3 purple arrows and like the bubbles around them out away from that grate and then hit the last one in the chain with Kratos's Blades of Chaos and burn the chain of purple arrows over to the torch to light the torch. Or there's a great big gate that you need to keep open because it's too heavy, it keeps falling. So you use the wheel to run it up, and then you shoot the gear that you can see, the sparkly gear that says "shoot me" with a purple arrow, and Kratos' axe to freeze it in place so that you can go under the gate, and then you recall the axe. Things like that. There are 8-ish different stats to sort of pay attention to, but they didn't feel very impactful. The stat system looked simple enough, but I saw no benefit to weighing different builds like other RPGs. I'm going to try and guess. There was like vitality and runic and luck and gosh, I don't even know. I equipped armor with desirable special effects like increased parry window, for example, and just moved on. I didn't care about the numbers, like how it affected my vitality or my rage or whatever. Armor upgrade materials felt very limited despite me doing most of the side content, and that really, really, really discouraged changing my builds often. It felt like I had 2, maybe 3 shots at upgrading armor all the way up, and then that was it. And there was a lot of armor going by. There's a lot of potential for builds or whatever in this game, but again, the stats just didn't. They're near the end of the game. I remember there were like those special animation attacks, the L1 R1. There were some of those that I couldn't use because I didn't have enough runic or whatever, enough points in runic. But that didn't bother me because I'd already leveled up the special attacks that I'd already had and been playing with for hours. So it was just like, oh, well, I can't use this new one. It's junk. Get rid of it. Like, I'm not asking for like a Diablo or a Destiny or anything like that. Like, it doesn't need to be numbers. But it just didn't feel worthwhile even having that system because it hardly affected anything. Unless that's like why I was getting killed so easily sometimes, but then the game should have explained it to me like, hey, stupid, put some numbers in vitality. Skills / the level tree is really straightforward. XP equals new ability for Blades, Axe, Spear, Atreus, and Freya. I had every tree maxed out by the end and was still earning XP, which is fine because those special animation attacks took XP to upgrade to. So I could have kept upgrading those because I didn't really have anywhere else to put the XP, but I didn't because I was comfortable with what I'd already been using. If an ability is used, abilities unlocked through the skill tree then had this really cool system where if I used that ability so many times and the number changed to, sometimes it was 15, sometimes it was 30, sometimes it was like 200. If I used that enough times in combat, it would then be quote unquote mastered. I would get a mastery bonus. So it would offer me like 3 options. It would give me like a little bit more elemental status applied anytime from then on that I would use that attack, or a moderate amount of damage from that attack, or a high amount of stun against the enemy when I use that attack. And that was a really, really cool system. That encouraged me to not just use the same 3 combos over and over and over again, but to try to mess around and use every ability in my arsenal to try to get that mastery on everything so that I would then have the extra mastery bonuses against enemies in the future or whatever. It was really cool. I guess the argument could be made that it discourages you from using other ones because you've already mastered your favorites and you could just use those. But I don't know. I liked it. I was trying to master everything. I didn't get there. The map is good, asterisk. It's beautifully colorful. All the side quests are easily marked and tracked, but I have 2 complaints. Multiple markers close to each other muddy the map, making it difficult to see what to even do. It felt like I couldn't zoom in enough sometimes to see where each marker was in a certain you and 2, sometimes it was a pain in the ass to get from A to B because the map is layered. You have to go through a tunnel or under a bridge. And again, it was unclear of where to go sometimes. There are so many side quests. Helping connect ghosts with others. There was one where it's like, me and my son went fucking hunting and got separated and I got killed by the bear we were hunting. I hope he survived. And then you would find the son and he's like, no, I fell down a cliff. I hope my dad lived. Things like that. Very small story things. Returning seasonal elks. Something about Norse lore, the seasons are controlled by elks, and all 4 of them ran away, and you had to collect them. Challenge chests, like lighting the torches I was talking about earlier. Optional bosses, other optional bosses. Seeds of Asgard. That was like the one quest that unlocked after Ragnarok. Pieces of Asgard fell and you had to go collect them all, and it was kind of dumb. Ingredients for a heavenly recipe, something about the Rainbow Bridge. Bad guy outposts, you had to kill them all. Assembling the AT&T ladies' legendary armor set. Herding the squirrel guy's monsters. Combat challenge dungeons. You had to kill Odin's ravens. You had to kill a bunch of dragons. I know I didn't name them all. That was just from memory. those other optional bosses were like the leading reason why I couldn't handle the combat, because by the time I was done with my special animation, I would be at half health, like off the rip. And I tried to do it without those special attacks, and their stupid yellow and red attacks were bullshit. I just could not handle it. So I didn't do those 8 special bosses. I did 2 of the 6 combat challenge dungeons, and I have had 8 or 10 of the 48 ravens left to kill, and that was pretty much it. All the side missions I did, like, I almost 100% of this game. I just fucking couldn't take it anymore because it was just so much. In closing, wow. IGN gave this a 10. Metacritic gave it a 94. It's easily worth the price of admission. I played on the hardest of 4 difficulties, and it took me 40-ish hours to play it all. There's also a 6-hour free DLC called Valhalla that I played an hour-ish of, and it's a little misleading to call it a 6-hour free DLC because it's basically it turns God of War into a roguelite or roguelike, where you are hopping across memories of the different realms and fighting the different monsters in each one, and you get different perks to level up your combat system. So you're leveling up your weapons or your special attacks or your shields or whatever, and trying to make it to the end to see the mysteries of Valhalla or something. I don't know. I was like, oh, roguelite? Nope, not for me. No. It seemed cool. It seemed really well made. It seemed pretty easy to level up the stuff outside of combat, kind of like Hades. There's upgrades that you can buy that make each run easier, so that eventually, hopefully, the game will just hand it to you, even if you suck. But I was not willing to invest the time into the DLC. I just wanted the game off my hard drive so I could play something else. The game is very good, despite my major complaints. I did a lot of bitching, but it is a really well-made game. I'm excited, and I have kind of an inkling of where the next game will go for a story. I honestly don't think Santa Monica has made a bad God of War. It'd be really hard for us to find one.